Hi everyone, it's Alice, and today we have got a very exciting book haul. Technically no more exciting than usual, but you know, we like books here. Looking at my little stack over here, I can see that we have a little bit of everything, but I think today we're gonna start with the nonfiction. First up, we have got a book that I've been wanting for the past year, so I'm excited to finally have it. It's 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff, and this tells the story of this American woman who basically sends this letter to a bookseller in London with a list of books that she can't find in New York, I think. And she sends him this list and she's like, if these come into your shop, can you send them to me? And this thing turns into like 20 years of correspondence between these two people, and I guess eventually they become friends. I've heard a lot of good things about this one, and I'm excited that it's like letters back and forth because I haven't read a lot of those kinds of books, but I feel like when I do, I really like them. This is also quite short, so I feel like it's gonna be a quick read, which I like. Secondly, we have got a book about death, which is exciting because it's been a while. It's The In-Between by Hadley Vlahos, and this sort of explores end-of-life care, but it also tells the story of the author who grew up in this strict religious household, and I think she was shunned by her community when she got pregnant at 19. And it's about her finding nursing and that being like her calling in life, and she ends up, I'm pretty sure, working in like palliative care. I really like these kinds of memoirs where we explore the life of a person but also their field of work, and this field is something that I'm interested in and I really like reading about, so I'm excited for this. I haven't really seen any reviews for this or seen it anywhere. I just came across it, and for some reason I just have really high hopes for it, so I'm excited. Then we have this lovely book. This is The Girl Who Drew Butterflies by Joyce Sidman. And this explores the life of Maria Marion, who was like one of the first female entomologists, so someone who studies insects. And I think she was one of the first people to document the metamorphosis of a butterfly. And I don't know, I just found this and I thought it looked interesting. I am pretty sure that this is meant for a slightly younger audience, just looking at it, because the font is quite big and there are a lot of pictures and stuff, but I just thought it sounded interesting. Just flipping through this makes me want to read it because there are loads of pictures and illustrations in this book, and I just feel like this is gonna be a quick, fun read, and I'm gonna get to learn a thing or two, and while I do that, I get to look at art and drawings. I think it's gonna be great. Then we have two books that are kind of like science fiction and dystopia, starting with Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. And I'm so excited that I finally have this book. I've read two other books by Celeste Ng. I think she only has two other books out, and I really liked both of those. I love the way that she writes, so I'm really excited to have this, and I'm excited to read it because it sounds a little bit different than her other two books. It follows a child named Bird who lives with his father, who used to be a linguist, but now he works shelving books in a library, and it says that Bird knows not to ask too many questions or stand out too much or stray too far from home, and they live in this society where like there are all of these laws about preserving like American culture, and it seems like in this society the government can just take children away from their parents if they're deemed like dissidents or rebels of any kind. I'm pretty sure the main character's mother is not with them because she wrote some books that were banned, and I guess something happened to her. I don't really know, and it seems like Bird doesn't know either, and he resents his mother for not being with them. But then he receives this mysterious letter, and that sends him on a quest to find his mother. It sounds very interesting, and I'm very excited to read about this society that Celeste has created. I think it'll be interesting to have her writing style in a dystopian setting, so very excited. I have very high expectations for this, so Hopefully it's gonna be as good as I think it's gonna be. Then we have something that I think is kind of like sci-fi, but I've also heard this referred to as like a cozy fantasy book. It's A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. And this is set in a world where robots have gained self-awareness just by themselves. And they've decided that they don't want to serve humanity anymore, and they lay down their tools and wander off into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Centuries later, our main character, who is a tea monk, like his life is turned on its head, I think when he like runs across a robot. I've wanted to read this since I heard about it, and several people have recommended it to me, and I think this is just gonna be lovely and delightful, and I'm very interested to learn about this world with the robots, but also to learn what a tea monk is, because that sounds interesting. Next, we have a couple of fantasy books, starting with the book that I have gotten maybe a dozen like comments and DMs about, where people have been like, have you heard about this book? It sounds like something you'd like. And it says it's like The Mummy meets Death on the Nile. And you are all right, it sounds perfect for me, and I'm so excited to have it. It's What the River Knows by Isabel Ibañez. I am so excited about this book. It's been a while since I've been this excited to read something. This starts off in 19th century Buenos Aires, where we meet our main character, who seems to have it all, but she constantly misses her parents because they're like globetrotters and they travel around the world, and they seem to not take her with them all the time. Then, unfortunately, her parents die in some sort of tragic event, and she inherits a fortune. Her guardian is like an archaeologist, and she's been left this ring by her father before they left on their most recent trip where they died, I'm assuming. And there's something like weird or magical about this ring, so our main character ends up going to Cairo to, I think, find some answers about her parents' death, but there's also something about this ring, I think. It sounds like a really good time, and I'm hoping this is gonna scratch that itch I have for books like this. It is YA, and it does appear to have a little bit of romance to it, so we'll see. But I am very excited, and thank you to all of you who saw this book and thought of me. You guys are the bomb. I'm also very excited about this cover. It's very pretty. I'm hoping it's gonna be amazing. The other fantasy book that I got is The Hanging City by Charlie N. Holmberg. This has a really pretty cover as well. This follows this girl in, I think, some sort of magical world, and she has a magical ability to instill fear in others, which sounds very cool. And she's been on the run for several years trying to escape her abusive father. And I think she ends up trying to like find a place to call home where she can hide, but she can stay. And she ends up in a troll city. I think she uses her power to sort of gain trust with the trolls, and she ends up working as a monster slayer or something. I don't really know. I saw a couple of reviews for this and it just sounded fun. I do think this is like fantasy romance, so there's gonna be a little bit of that as well, but I don't know. I just think it sounds interesting. I'm very intrigued by this troll city. Then we have a singular romance book. And this book might be one of the more ridiculous books that I've ever bought, but you know what? I just want to try it. It's Raiders of the Lost Heart by Segura. And this follows like these rival archaeologists who end up going on this Aztec expedition together, and it's like a secret expedition, and they have to work together because I think there's like a thief that's trying to steal something from them, and I'm assuming they don't stay rivals for all that long. I mean, this does look and sound a little bit cheesy, although to be honest I kind of like this cover, but I don't know, I just think this could be fun, and I feel like even if it's terrible, it's still gonna be fun to read. And I do love like anything to do with archaeologists, and it's really hard to find these kinds of books, so yeah, I'm gonna give this a go. Wish me luck. Moving on, we have some mystery, thriller, horror type books. Of course, starting with The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman, which is the 4th book in the Thursday Murder Club series, which is one of my favorite cozy mystery series, and very excited that a new book is out. This is gonna be great. The series, if you don't know, follow this group of pensioners who live in a like peaceful retirement village, but then it's never that peaceful because there are all of these murders and they keep getting involved in all of these investigations. And in this one, I think there's something about one of the main characters, like they have a friend who's an antiquarian and he is murdered, and there seems to be like a dangerous package that has gone missing. And I'm sure it's gonna be a lot of fun. These books are always a lot of fun. Now, I will mention, I thought, and I think I've said, that this is gonna be the last book in the series. It turns out that maybe it's not going to be. I don't really know, I can't entirely figure it out, but someone told me the other day, they were like, it's not gonna be the last book. So we'll see if there are any more. I kind of like if it's just 4 books. Like, it doesn't need to go on forever. I really respect when authors can just be like, we're gonna wrap it up before we take it too far, but yeah. If there are more books, of course I will read them, and of course it's gonna be fun. I also picked up Rouge by Mona Awad, and I picked this up honestly without really looking into it, just because I really like Bunny by this author, which is like a super weird book, but I'm very intrigued by this author and I would like to read some more of her books, and this is new and it looks very exciting. It says it's like a gothic fairy tale with a little bit of horror to it, which sounds interesting. And we follow this main character who loses her mother, and this seems to send her down a path that's really dangerous, and she's searching for like youth and beauty. And I can't quite figure out what that means, but there are these women who turn up at her mother's funeral, and they're all dressed in red, and they say something weird to her, and they, I think, invite her to this spa that's kind of like a cult. I have no idea, but it sounds very interesting and a little bit bizarre. And one of the things that I liked about Bunny is that it was a little bit bizarre, and it was kind of like hazy in a way, and it had like an atmosphere to it that I really liked. So hopefully this is gonna have some of that as well. It sounds like a very interesting premise. Then we have The Reformatory by Tananarive Due, and the only reason I got this book is because I read this amazing review of it that just really made me want to read it. Like, it sounds very, very interesting, and it was a very in-depth review, but it didn't spoil anything, which I thought was amazing, and it just really made me want to read it, so here it is. This veers a little bit into horror again, I think, and it sounds quite disturbing. It's set in Jim Crow, Florida in the 1950s, and we follow this, I think, quite young boy. He's like 11 or 12, and he's sent to a reformatory school, and he finds out about all of these horrible things that are happening there. And I think the reason that he finds out about a lot of things is because he can see ghosts. And he's just lost his mother, and I think it's been a sort of comfort to him to be able to see ghosts, but then he comes to this horrible place where all of these horrible things happen, and it just sounds very disturbing, but also interesting. It sounds like an interesting premise, and I'm a little worried that this is gonna be so disturbing, but it's also just very intriguing. Then at the end here we have a graphic novel, and it's called The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. And I just saw this and I thought it looked really cute and lovely, and honestly that's the main reason I got it. The story follows this lady who wants to live life on her own terms, and she absolutely does not want to marry a man, but the law of the land says that women cannot inherit, so when her father dies, I think she runs away, and she runs away to the capital city, and she disguises herself as a man and starts living life as a count instead of a lady. But then she runs into this princess, and she really catches her attention, and she really wants to get to know her, and she can't stay away. And I guess there's some stuff about that, and I think there's a little bit of romance, which I'm into. I just really like these kinds of lighter, cute graphic novels, and I quite like this kind of artwork, and I really like what I've seen of the color palette. It seems to be like there's a lot of pink to it, which I'm into, and I just think this is gonna be a nice little treat of a book. Okay everyone, that was the last book that I had to show you, and I guess that was the last book haul of the year. I'd love to know if you've read any of these and what you thought, or if you have gotten any exciting new books lately. As always, thank you very much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you soon. Bye!